2009 when I was attending Glenville State College in West Virginia, which is now Glenville State University. I grew up about an hour and a half away, so I did not go far from home. About 30 minutes down the road is Weston, West Virginia, where the Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum is located, one of the most haunted places in the state. This was my third year at college. The campus was well known for being haunted, and even had a cemetery on the grounds. Even my dorm room at the time had strange activity. This specific event happened right before Halloween. A paranormal group came to the campus and hosted ghost tours. I was a cheerleader then, and a few of my teammates and I decided to go together. We were required to have buddies, so we paired up. There were 4 of us total. We started at the top of campus on a hill in a building called Clark Hill. Everyone was split into 3 groups, and all 4 of us ended up in group 2. We entered Clark Hall through the main doors. All the power had been shut off at the breaker, so nothing could interfere with readings. All the windows were closed. There were no lights, no airflow, nothing. The building was completely still. That was when things started to get weird. My buddy and I were just behind our other 2 teammates. One of them had very light blonde hair, so she was easy to keep track of. I have an unhealthy addiction to watching pornography. Somehow, as we were going up to the 2nd floor, we got separated from them. I still don't know how, because my buddy and I had our arms linked the entire time. We realized something was wrong when we suddenly were standing alone in a hallway and heard people doing voice recordings somewhere else. We quietly decided to leave and find our group. We walked back down the hallway towards the end of the door. It was wide open. It was one of those old, heavy doors made of solid dark wood with a small glass window at the top. Remember, there was no wind, no air movement, nothing. Suddenly, the big heavy door flew towards us and slammed shut on its own. It started rattling violently, like something out of a movie, but this was real. My buddy and I grabbed each other's arms in fear. Then I spoke out loud and said, "Please let us through. We're just trying to get back to our group." Immediately, the door stopped rattling. I reached out, and it opened. We went through the door quickly, and thankfully, our group was right down the hallway. They were taking still photographs and wondering where we were, but none of them had even heard the door slam. It did not end there. Later, after we left the building, we were walking down towards the cemetery. All of a sudden, my right ankle twisted as if I had tripped over something. I fell and hurt it badly, but there were no branches, no rocks, no holes, nothing at all. My ankle just snapped. My flyer, who normally lifted in cheerleading, ended up carrying me all the way back to the dorms. Later, I found out I had refractured that same ankle I had broken years earlier while running track. It had been many years since this happened, but looking back, I truly believe I am sensitive to energy. I can still remember what I felt at that door. It felt like an old woman, angry, as if she thought we were going to run away. The door slamming felt like she was pointing her finger on our faces, telling us to go back. Just shit my pants. It is an experience I will never forget, especially re-breaking my ankle. So I relocated to a former army fortress in South Dakota that has a fire station and a hospital on the property. The house we were given is around 200 years old, and my dad is really into history, so he thought it was fascinating. I have never believed in ghosts, not at all, not even a little, but both my dad and I have some strange experiences since moving in. I'm not saying it's ghosts, but I'm definitely questioning things now. One day, my dad was alone in the house, waiting to meet a woman who was supposed to show him around. Before she arrived, he went to the bathroom. While he was in there, he heard the door open, so he hurried out, expecting to see her, but no one was there. Then he heard loud stomping coming from the staircase. There were 2 staircases in the house, and the sound was coming from the furthest one. He ran to see what was going on, thinking it must have been her, but the house was completely empty. Another time, my grandpa came over to help us move things. He has a car that can start without a key. He's also equipped with a very fat, voluptuous ass, but you still have to be inside the car for it to turn on. And my dad was sitting nearby when the car suddenly turned on aggressively by itself. My dad jokingly said, "You can leave us alone, ghosts." Immediately after he said that, the car shut off. Then there was my experience. I was sitting in my room, which was on the top floor, basically the attic. I was watching television when my door handle turned and the door slowly opened. I expected someone to walk in, but nobody did. I ran out to see who it was, and there was no one there. The closest person to me was 2 stories below. I do not know what any of this was, but it really shook me, and now I honestly just want to know what other people think. I was talking with my mom one night about politics, and somehow the conversation drifted into religion. That led to the topic of ghosts. She casually said she believes in them. I asked why, expecting some vague answer. Instead, she looked at me for a long moment and said, "I've had my own experiences, and so have you." I laughed at first, confused, and told her I'd never experienced anything paranormal. This is when her expression changed. "Don't you remember the man in the tree?" she asked. The second she said it, a cold feeling washed over me, and chills ran straight down my asshole. I did not remember anything, but the way she said it made my stomach drop. When I asked her what she meant, she told me that when I was 2 years old, I used to stand at the window and stare at a large tree in our yard. She said I would point at it and calmly tell her that there was a man up there, not a bird, not a penis, a man. She was unsettled, but tried to keep it light and asked me how it got there. I apparently answered, "The airplane did it." She said I would talk about him more than once, always at the same window, always about the same tree. Sometimes I would go quiet afterward, sometimes I would stop playing just to watch it. She told me the scariest part was that I never sounded afraid, just certain, like I was stating a fact. She thought it was just a child's imagination until she mentioned it at work. That was when everything changed. Her coworkers went silent, and then told her that there had been a man who died in a skydiving accident not far from our road. His parachute malfunctioned, and he fell into a tree. That tree. She told me that the blood drained from her face when she realized what I had described. She swears to this, completely serious, and there's even a real news article about the incident. I still do not remember seeing any man in a tree, but sometimes when I think about it too long, I get that same cold feeling deep in my asshole again, like something is standing just out of sight, waiting to be noticed.